Equivalent units. Equivalent units of production measure the work done during the period, expressed in fully completed units. Companies use this measure to determine the cost per unit of the completed product. Equivalent units of production are the sum of units completed and transferred out plus the equivalent units of ending work in process. The weighted average method is used to compute equivalent units of production. This method considers the degree of completion, weighting, of the units completed and transferred out and the ending work in process. In computing equivalent units, the beginning work in process is not part of the equivalent units of production formula. Companies need to make two equivalent unit computations, one for materials, and the other for conversion costs. This is necessary because ending work in process is fully complete as to materials, but only partially complete as to conversion costs. Next, we look at completing the production cost report. In order to complete a production cost report, the company must perform 4 steps. A. Compute the physical unit flow. B. Compute the equivalent units of production. C. Compute unit production costs. D. Prepare a cost reconciliation schedule. The first step in completing a production cost report requires computing physical unit flow. The physical units are computed by adding the units started, or transferred, into production during the period to the units in process at the beginning of the period. This amount is called the total units to be accounted for. These units then are accounted for by the output of the period, which consists of units transferred out during the period and any units in process at the end of the period. The second step in completing a production cost report requires computing equivalent units of production. A. Each processing department adds materials at the beginning of the process, and incurs conversion costs uniformly during the process. B. 2 computations of equivalent units are required, one for materials and one for conversion costs. The third step in completing a production cost report requires computing unit production costs. A. Unit production costs are costs expressed in terms of equivalent units of production. B. When equivalent units of production are different for materials and conversion costs, companies compute 3 unit costs. 1. Materials, 2. Conversion, and 3. Total manufacturing. C. Total manufacturing cost per unit is computed as the sum of unit materials cost plus unit conversion cost. The fourth step in completing a production cost report requires preparing a cost reconciliation schedule. A. The company then prepares a cost reconciliation schedule to assign total costs to 1. Units transferred out to the next department and 2. Ending work in process. B. The total manufacturing cost per unit is used in costing the units completed and transferred out. C. The cost reconciliation schedule shows that the total costs accounted for equal the total costs to be accounted for.